Welcome to Golden Bachelor. If you love celebrity news and real entertainment updates, you're in the right place. Joan Vassos is opening up about a challenging chapter in her relationship with Chock Chapple, offering fans a more thoughtful look at what was happening behind the scenes. In a recent conversation, Joan shared that her time in the spotlight came with intense expectations from viewers, production, and even herself. According to Joan, navigating a relationship in the public eye isn't always as simple as it looks on screen. While many fans believed everything was moving smoothly, Joan admitted she often felt the weight of outside opinions influencing how she approached her decisions. She explained that staying true to her own feelings became difficult when so many people had strong views about what her next steps should be. Joan emphasized that Chock was not the source of these challenges. Instead, she described the situation as an emotional environment created by constant attention and high expectations surrounding their journey. She noted that when a relationship becomes a topic of public discussion, it can sometimes blur the line between personal choice and public expectation. Despite the difficulties, Joan said the experience helped her grow. It pushed her to reflect more deeply on what she truly wants in a partner and in life. She also expressed gratitude for the support she received from fans who encouraged her to prioritize honesty and self-respect. As Joan continues forward, she hopes her story reminds others that relationships, especially those in the spotlight, are complex. What viewers see on television is only part of the picture, and real emotions often exist beyond the cameras. As the conversation continued, Joan Vassos made it clear that the experience changed how she views relationships moving forward. She explained that when emotions develop under public scrutiny, even small decisions can feel much heavier than they normally would. Every moment, she said, seemed to come with expectations attached. Joan admitted that part of the challenge was feeling responsible for how others would react. Fans had invested emotionally in her journey, and she didn't want to disappoint anyone. That sense of responsibility, however, sometimes made it harder for her to fully listen to her own instincts. She shared that learning to separate outside voices from her inner truth became one of her biggest lessons. She also reflected on how quickly opinions can form when a relationship plays out on television. Joan noted that viewers often see highlights, not the quiet conversations or personal doubts that happen off-camera. This gap, she said, can lead to misunderstandings about what someone is really feeling. Despite everything, Joan spoke respectfully about Chock Chapple. She described him as supportive and understanding, emphasizing that their connection was real, even if the circumstances surrounding it were complicated. According to Joan, the pressure wasn't about the relationship itself, but about navigating it in a space where so many people felt invested. Looking ahead, Joan says she's focused on clarity and balance. She wants her future choices to come from a place of confidence rather than expectation. She hopes sharing her perspective helps others understand that relationships aren't always simple, especially when they unfold in front of millions. For Joan, this chapter may be closing, but the lessons remain about honesty, self-awareness, and the importance of choosing what feels right, even when the world is watching. Joan Vassos went on to share that stepping back and reflecting gave her a clearer perspective on everything she had been feeling. She explained that once the camera stopped rolling, the emotional noise slowly faded, allowing her to reconnect with her own thoughts without outside influence. She revealed that being constantly discussed online added an unexpected layer of stress. Even well-meaning comments, she said, could make her question decisions she had already made in private. Joan noted that learning when to tune out the world became just as important as learning how to open up. Through this process, Joan said she gained a deeper appreciation for personal boundaries. She realized that protecting her emotional space was necessary, especially after experiencing how quickly public narratives can form. That awareness, she believes, will guide how she handles relationships going forward. Joan also acknowledged that viewers often expect clear endings, but real life doesn't always offer that. Feelings can evolve, and understanding those changes takes time.
She emphasized that growth doesn't mean something failed, it simply means circumstances shifted. As she continues to move ahead, Joan remains thankful for the journey and the support she received. She hopes her honesty encourages others to trust themselves, even when opinions come from every direction. For Joan, choosing authenticity over expectation has become the most meaningful takeaway from it all. Joan Vassos also touched on how the experience reshaped her sense of independence. She explained that after spending so much time making decisions within a highly structured environment, it felt empowering to finally slow down and evaluate what she truly wanted, without timelines or expectations
She shared that
attached.
conversations with close friends and family played a major role in this reflection. Away from the spotlight, those trusted voices helped her regain perspective and reminded her that her happiness doesn't need public approval. Joan said this support system grounded her during moments of uncertainty. Another realization, Joan noted, was understanding that emotional connection and long-term compatibility don't always develop at the same pace. She explained that while feelings can be genuine, recognizing whether a relationship fits into one's everyday life takes time, something reality television doesn't always allow. Joan emphasized that she doesn't regret the journey. Instead, she views it as an opportunity that taught her resilience and self-confidence. She believes the experience helped her become more comfortable expressing her needs and standing by them, even when doing so feels uncomfortable. As fans continue to speculate about what comes next, Joan remains focused on living intentionally. She hopes viewers take away a message of patience, both with themselves and with others, because real growth often happens quietly, long after the cameras fade. As time passed, Joan Vassos said she became more comfortable accepting uncertainty. She explained that not having all the answers right away was once unsettling, but the experience taught her that growth often comes from sitting with unanswered questions rather than rushing toward conclusions. Joan also reflected on how being in the public eye can quietly influence emotions. She shared that even subtle reactions, from headlines to social media discussions, can shape how someone perceives their own feelings. Recognizing this helped her separate what she truly felt from what she thought she was expected to feel. She noted that stepping away from constant updates allowed her to rediscover simple routines that brought her peace. Whether it was spending quiet time at home or reconnecting with hobbies, these moments helped her rebuild confidence in her own choices. When asked about the future, Joan kept her response thoughtful. She said she remains open to love, but is no longer interested in forcing timelines or outcomes. Her priority now is emotional clarity and staying aligned with her values. For Joan, this chapter wasn't about endings, it was about understanding. She hopes her journey reminds others that personal truth matters more than public opinion, and that choosing yourself is sometimes the most important decision of all. Joan Vassos went on to explain that one of the hardest parts of the journey was learning how quickly a personal story can turn into a public narrative. She shared that once opinions start circulating, it can feel like your story no longer belongs entirely to you. That realization, she said, was both eye-opening and challenging. She acknowledged that viewers often want clear heroes and clear answers, but real relationships rarely work that way. Joan emphasized that emotions can be layered and sometimes conflicting, especially when personal growth is happening at the same time. She said allowing herself to feel uncertainty was a form of honesty she hadn't practiced before. Joan also spoke about self-trust. After months of outside influence, she realized she needed to reconnect with her own judgment. That meant letting go of the need to explain every decision and becoming comfortable with choices that might not make sense to everyone else. She shared that stepping into this mindset brought a sense of relief. Without the pressure to meet expectations, she felt more grounded and confident. Joan described this period as a reset, one that helped her understand what emotional security truly looks like for her. As fans continue to follow her journey, Joan hopes her story encourages patience and compassion.
She believes that growth doesn't always come with dramatic moments. Sometimes it arrives quietly, through reflection and self-awareness. For her, this experience became less about a relationship and more about rediscovering her own voice. Joan Vassos also reflected on how this experience reshaped her understanding of emotional readiness. She admitted that being in a highly visible relationship can sometimes accelerate feelings before there's enough space to fully process them. Looking back, she said she learned the value of slowing down and allowing emotions to unfold naturally. She shared that the pressure she felt wasn't always loud or obvious. Often it showed up quietly, in the form of expectations about how a relationship should progress or how a public figure should respond. Recognizing this helped Joan become more aware of when she was acting out of obligation rather than authenticity. Joan emphasized that personal happiness doesn't follow a script. She explained that while viewers may see relationships as chapters with clear beginnings and endings, real life is more fluid. Sometimes clarity comes later, after reflection and distance
She
provide
also
a better
spoke about
perspective.
gratitude. Despite the challenges, Joan said she remains thankful for the opportunity and the connections she made along the way. The journey, she noted, offered lessons she wouldn't trade, especially about self-respect, communication, and emotional honesty. As she continues forward, Joan is choosing intention over impulse. She's focused on building a life that feels steady and true to who she is now, not who others expect her to be. For her, this chapter isn't defined by pressure, it's defined by growth. Joan Vassos went on to explain that distance gave her clarity she didn't have in the moment. With time away from constant discussion, she was able to look back without emotion clouding her judgment. She said that space allowed her to understand which feelings were truly hers and which ones were shaped by circumstance. She also addressed the idea of expectations placed on women in public relationships. Joan noted that there is often an unspoken belief that perseverance equals success, even when something feels uncertain. Learning that it's okay to pause and reassess, she said, was an important personal breakthrough. Joan shared that she's now more intentional about protecting her energy. She's limiting how much outside commentary she absorbs and focusing instead on conversations that bring clarity and calm. This shift, she explained, has helped her regain a sense of balance she felt was missing. When reflecting on Chock Chapple, Joan maintained a tone of respect and gratitude. She acknowledged the meaningful moments they shared and emphasized that mutual understanding played a role in how things unfolded. According to Joan, not every connection is meant to last forever, but that doesn't make it any less real. As she moves forward, Joan hopes fans see her journey as a reminder that self-awareness is a strength, not a weakness. Choosing reflection over reaction, she believes, leads to more honest outcomes. For Joan, this chapter stands as proof that listening to yourself matters, even when the world is watching. Joan Vassos also spoke about how this period encouraged her to redefine success in relationships. She explained that for a long time, she believed success meant making something work at all costs. Now she sees success as being honest with herself and with others, even when that honesty leads to difficult choices. She shared that stepping away from constant explanations brought unexpected peace. Joan realized she didn't owe the public a perfect conclusion or a neatly wrapped story. Allowing her experience to remain nuanced, she said, felt far more authentic than trying to meet outside expectations. Joan noted that this mindset helped her rebuild confidence. Without the need to justify every emotion, she felt more secure standing by her decisions. She described this phase as one of quiet strength, less about proving something and more about understanding herself. She also touched on personal growth beyond relationships. Joan said the experience made her more patient, more reflective, and more comfortable with uncertainty.
These changes, she believes, will influence not just future partnerships, but every aspect of her life. As the chapter continues to unfold, Joan remains focused on moving forward with intention. She hopes her story reminds others that growth doesn't always come from holding on. It often comes from knowing to pause, reflect, and choose what truly feels right. Thanks for watching Golden Bachelor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next big story.